Welcome to another edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. During this program, we will highlight the agenda items presented to the Lakeville City Council at their September 21st, 2015 meeting. First highlighted item on the agenda is item number 7, public hearing on the modification of Airlake Redevelopment Project number 1. And to provide the background information on this agenda item is Community and Economic Development Director Dave Olson.
It's been and it was mentioned real briefly in the HRA meeting. This is a project we've been working on for a number of months now, and we briefed the City Council on it back in earlier this month at the September 8th HRA meeting. But the first item on the agenda is the consideration of the tax increment financing plan and amendment to the project area for Airlake Redevelopment Project area, which basically includes all of our industrial park. SSB Manufacturing Company, or Serta Simmons Bedding Company, is chosen Lakeville to construct their 240,000 square foot manufacturing warehouse facility. And as indicated in the application, which you've seen previously, SSB is the largest manufacturer of mattresses in the United States. And as Mr. Richmond alluded to, the company is going through a process of realigning their manufacturing facilities across the country. The total estimated project cost for this project and development cost is $15.7 million, and it's proposed to be located in the new Scanell development called Interstate South Logistics Park. And Mr. Morey is going to talk a little bit later about the preliminary plat. I think this is probably the first time we've gotten the stars to align where we're going to do the TIF plan and the business subsidy agreement / TIF agreement and the preliminary plat all in one night. It kind of gives you the indication of how we've been trying to work with both the developer, Scanell Properties, and the company, SSB Manufacturing, and their consultants and their team to try and move this project through in an expeditious manner so that their desire is to begin construction on the site and site preparation this fall, and the stars kind of aligned and we were able to get everything to line up for this meeting. I should also point out there are other people in attendance tonight representing this project, and Mr. Richmond just introduced himself, but in addition, Dan Salzar with Scanell Properties is here, and they are the developer of Interstate South Logistics Park. We've had that development before the council several times, including an AUAR process. And then a person that really worked with very closely, which was a consultant for SSB Manufacturing, and Chris Shastok from CBRE office in Chicago is here again tonight. You met him at the HRA board meeting that we had earlier this month, and so it's been a team effort, and we spent a lot of time on the phone with each other last week trying to get this deal all put together and finalized, and we're fortunate that we were able to do that and bring it before the council tonight. Actually, the project is going to be similar to what was done with BTD Manufacturing as well as Mendel, whereby a different entity is actually going to construct and own the building and lease it back to the company. In this case, Scanell Properties not only owns the land, but they will build the building and lease it back to SSB Manufacturing. And so it's a built-to-suit project, and a built-to-suit-to-lease project, and that's why the actual agreement, which is the next item on your agenda, is a three-party agreement between the city, SSB, and Scanell. Importantly, this job is going to result in the creation of 200 new jobs in Lakeville, and the wage information was presented previously at the HRA board meeting, as well as reviewed with the EDC earlier, or in late August. But the average starting wage for this company, for this new manufacturing facility, will be $17.35 an hour, with the lowest wage of any job proposed in the new facility at $15.20 an hour, plus benefits, which include insurance and other fringe benefits to be provided to all employees. In addition to the $15.7 million development cost, as Mr. Richmond alluded to, automation is a big part of this project and why they've chosen to relocate their manufacturing facilities. And the machinery and equipment involved in this project is currently estimated at $10 million. So the total project cost is slightly over $25 million for this project. And the machinery and equipment will be part of, and the fourth person we have with us tonight is John Schaffner from the Department of Employment and Economic Development. DEED has played a major role in this project as well, and just as they have for several other projects we've done this year. And Mr. Schaffner was at the HRA meeting as well as the EDC meeting. I think this is his third meeting down in Lakeville on this project, but DEED was involved from the beginning, and I can't speak for the developer, but I think they've played a crucial role in getting this project not only in Minnesota, but fortunately for us, I guess, here in Lakeville. The EDC reviewed this project at their August 25th meeting, and the copy of the TIF plan was also submitted to Dakota County and ISD 194 as required by the statute. The amount of increment that's proposed to be generated by this project based on the current estimated cost over the life of the project is approximately $1.6 million. And that's with 95% of the increment being captured being provided to the project. Again, those are based on estimates, and when we have final construction plans for the building, the county assessor will assign an official market value to this project, and that will become the basis for the taxes going forward. The project, as we've done projects in Lakeville for a long time, is set up as a pay-as-you-go TIF district, whereby the developer incurs all of the upfront development costs, and the city, over a period of 9 years of captured increment from this project, reimburses the developer for eligible costs. The application that was submitted identified over $7 million in eligible costs, so the $1.6 million obviously doesn't cover everything that would technically be eligible under the TIF statute, but it represents the maximum the city can provide on the project. The county's resolution is attached, and just as they have with previous projects for a long time, the county has indicated that economic development TIF districts are not consistent with their TIF policy, and thus they passed a resolution to that effect. I should point out, both to remind council as well as the developers, the county as well as the school district, and the school district submitted comments late Friday. You got those separately, I think, via email from the city administrator. They did not take a position. In fact, they supported, I think, conditional supported the project. However, they and others, and included in the budget for next year, is that staff, the city as well as the county, are going to continue to look at County Road 70. And as we continue to see more development in the industrial park, whether it's expansion of existing businesses or new businesses like SSB or FedEx coming into Lakeville, at some point we will be making provisions for and bring forward to council a plan that will ultimately lead up to the expansion of County Road 70 to a 4-lane divided highway at some point in the future. We don't know when that is yet, but the continued development along the corridor and continued development in the industrial park is going to result in those discussions continuing to take place. With that, this is a pretty straightforward project. It's as the mayor alluded to during the proclamation, this is true manufacturing. I mean, this is the type of projects that our industrial park was designed and intended to try and bring into our community, and to have a national manufacturing company like this decide to and elect to locate in Lakeville, I think, is a big plus for the city, the county, and for the state of Minnesota. So with that, I'll pause, and this actually covers all of the information for the most part, unless you had any detailed questions on the TIF agreement, but it spells out the responsibilities of the city as well as the developer and the business, and it's, you know, the company has to create the jobs that are identified in the 200 job creation goal for this project. The developer, Scannell, will build the building that has been identified at 240,000 square feet, estimated cost of $15.7 million. And if all that happens, and it happens within, on the job side, they have 2 years to create those jobs, the city will just make its TIF reimbursements per the agreement. So it's a pretty straightforward transaction, and pretty straightforward project, and staff's recommendation is both the approval of the TIF plan and amendments, as well as the contract for private development business subsidy agreement.
Item number 7 and 8 were approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 9, Interstate South Logistics Park preliminary plat. And to provide the background information on this agenda item is City Planner Daryl Morey.
I will do my best to not repeat what's been said by previous speakers. Obviously, you've heard there's been a lot of heavy lifting that's gone into this project, and definitely team effort and tag teaming on this presentation. Mr. Olson covered obviously the TIF component, and I will cover the preliminary plat, i.e. subdivision and zoning ordinance component of this, and just kind of give you a little bit of an idea. If I could get the overhead, please, Jim. Again, not going to go through the AUAR process. You know that that's occurred and that was approved, but this is the site plan that was part of the AUAR and the location of SSB manufacturing being right here. And as you can see, there's obviously going to be several other manufacturing, office, warehouse type of uses that will be part of the overall Interstate South Logistics Park upon full development. I'm going to actually flip this so north is up. This is the detailed site plan that's associated with the preliminary plat. The preliminary plat is one lot and one outlot. It's a 23-acre lot for this industrial use. It's actually a manufacturing warehouse office all in one building, 240,000 square feet, as you heard, for SSB Manufacturing Company. Property is zoned industrial. The use is very fitting with the zoning of the site. Access to the property is going to be off of Dodd in a couple of locations. At the very north end, it's going to be at 217th Street. That street aligns with the current 217th Street across on the east side of Dodd in the First Park Lakeville development. And then down at the southerly end, again off of Dodd, there will be a shared private drive. That private drive will be shared amongst future users in the development. 217th is designed to extend through the site and eventually will intersect with a southerly extension of Jacquard, south of County Road 70, again, future development phases of this project. Do want to point out that there is an administrative approval of a parking deferment that's required. The staff has done an analysis of the parking requirement. 431 stalls are required for this type of use. 216 will be constructed at initial development. 215 are proposed to be deferred. Also want to point out, and this plan does not reflect that, but one of the stipulations of the preliminary plat and the planning report that Mr. Dempsey prepared for this was that there be a revised landscape plan submitted to show some additional screening down here on the south end of the site. That has been submitted, was submitted and included in your packet, so that stipulation was met. One stipulation that will carry forward is related to the exterior building materials. The building material plan that was submitted identified painted precast concrete panels. The ordinance requires that they be integral colored. The developer understands that, and that will be part of their submittal when they move forward with building plan. So that's just noted in the planning report as a placeholder. And concerning the preliminary plat, the Planning Commission reviewed this and had a public hearing at their September 10th meeting, same meeting that the TIF came forward to them too as well. As Mr. Olson mentioned, the stars aligned. And the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the preliminary plat subject to the stipulations in the planning report. There was no public comment provided at that meeting. Parks, Rec, and Natural Resources Committee also reviewed the preliminary plat, and they recommended unanimous approval as well at their September 9th meeting. In summary, staff is recommending approval of the preliminary plat. The resolution includes the remaining staff's recommended and Planning Commission recommended stipulations, and I can stand for any questions.
Item number 9 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 10, Spirit of Brandtjen Farm 15th edition. And once again, to provide the background information on this agenda item is City Planner Daryl Morey.
Conversation at the City Council meeting has been somewhat parallel to what occurred at the Planning Commission meeting. The only difference is there was talks about certain staff members not retiring until this project is complete, and it would certainly be nice to be able to be here for the fruition of this development since I was here.
All you need is a retirement area, and you'll be fine, Mr. Morey.
Can you set something aside for me? Obviously very pleased to be presenting this next phase of Spirit. As Mr. Fick mentioned, it's a preliminary plat of 93 single-family lots, first phase final plat of 62. There's also an easement vacation that's associated with that. I won't go through the details associated with that other than just to let you know that the easements that are being vacated will be replaced on the final plats, as is city practice. Again, Mr. Fick mentioned there's going to be a mix of the traditional and cottage-sized lots in this development, and they will be subject to the PUD standards that were approved with the preliminary plat and initial development phase in 2005. Access to the site, I want to talk a little bit about that. Is going to be from an extension of Draft Horse Boulevard, is going to come up through the site and run along the easterly portion, and then there will be a east-west connection, which is being labeled 165th Street, that will connect Draft Horse to the extended Eagle View Drive, which is coming out of the SBF commercial component that will provide access to County Road 46, 160th Street. So Eagle View, which is the main spine road through Spirit, will very shortly connect both the north and south ends, which gives the developer another ability for future customers and their current owners to get into and out of the development, which is a good thing. Along the east side of the development is Diamond Path, and it has been platted as right-of-way as they've done their various development phases, but has not been constructed to date. And I did bring the overall plan that Mr. Fick referred to, Diamond Path being this street that is located on the very east boundary. That is a County Road 33. We've had a lot of conversations about the timing of the construction of Diamond Path, and just a little bit of a background. I mean, other than the commercial component that's going on in the northwest corner that Mr. Fick alluded to with Hy-Vee, the development has occurred predominantly in the southerly half of the site, and there's a reason for that is because of the mining activities that are now winding down on the north half of the PUD. So that provides some future, obviously, expansion and phasing opportunities for Tradition as they move development of the site from south to north. So what we've done, we've had conversations at the County Plat Commission meeting. We've had conversations with the developer city staff, and we have all basically agreed to revisit the timing of the Diamond Path construction when the next phase that really moves into this previous mining area occurs when we get a preliminary plat for that. And what likely will occur would, at least is in Diamond Path being constructed in phases, and more likely you'll see it go from now north to south. So there probably initially would be a connection at County Road 46, which would be the more high demand in terms of traffic to get out of the site would be to go north, so that'll probably occur first. So nothing's being built at this time, but when the next phase comes in, we'll have those conversations. Also, as part of the actions that you are being asked to approve this evening, and consistent with previous Spirit final plats, because of the designs of the streets being slightly narrower, there's parking only on one side. They have the bump out parking, and so we have a resolution that's included that addresses the no parking areas on one side of each of the public streets in the 15th edition final plat. Planning Commission held a public hearing on the preliminary plat and the easement vacation at their September 10th meeting and unanimously recommended approval. And like the agenda item before this one, there was no public comment. which is pretty interesting for two pretty sizable projects. Parks and Rec Committee reviewed the preliminary plat also at their September 9th meeting and also recommended unanimous approval. So in summary, staff is recommending the City Council adopt 3 resolutions, 1 approving the preliminary and final plat, 2 approving the easement vacation, and 3 designating the no parking areas. And I can stand for questions.
Item number 10 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Next highlighted item on the agenda was item number 11, resolution approving the preliminary 2016 property tax levy. And to give the information on this agenda item is Finance Director Geraldine Erickson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Tonight you have a resolution before you to adopt the preliminary 2016 tax levy as well as a preliminary budget for the general fund. I would like to note that this levy is a maximum tax levy, that it can be maintained or reduced when you adopt the final tax levy in December. This levy will also be used on the truth and taxation notices that are mailed to the property owners in November by Dakota County. And the next item that's on your agenda is for the public budget hearing. That is being recommended to be set for December 7th. That's also on the notices that go out in November. The final tax levy and the budget will be considered at the December 21st council meeting. And for the benefit of the public, I'd just like to go through our budget process briefly. We did start that process back in May with departments working on their 2016 budget requests. So it's a very in-depth process involving quite a few people. In June, we held a work session with the council to discuss the street, utility, and park components of the CIP. Those all relate to the 2016 budget. And in August and September, we had 2 additional work sessions to discuss the budget and the property tax levy, the property tax supported funds, the primary drivers of the revenues and expenditures for the general fund, as well as the impact of such on the average valued home and the fund balance reserves. In addition, we talked about the equipment and facility plans that have a tax levy component. The 2016 property tax levy does include a 5.5% increase, or $1.36 million increase from the 2015 levy. And the primary increases were in the general fund, the building fund, which is accounting for major repairs for facilities, the park improvement fund, which is a new fund for 2015, which accounts for replacements of park amenities, and the debt service funds for debt issued in prior years, as well as in 2015. The impact on the average valued home is estimated at $35, but this is due to both the levy increase as well as a market value increase as determined by Dakota County Assessor. Between now and December, staff will continue to work on the assumptions for the budget, the revenue assumptions, the expenditure assumptions. They'll consider the risks and opportunities associated with those assumptions. We'll be updating our 2015 year-end estimates that impacts our fund balance reserves and how that might relate to 2016, as well as finalizing the capital improvement program, which has, as I mentioned before, an impact on the tax levy. With that, I'll stand for any questions.
Item number 11 was approved by the Lakeville City Council. Well, those were the highlighted items presented to the council at the September 21st, 2015 meeting. If you have any questions or comments regarding these agenda items, please feel free to call City Hall. The number is 952-985-4400. Thanks for watching this edition of Lakeville City Council Wrap-Up. The curtain is going up for this year's season at the Lakeville Area Performing Arts Center. And this year, there's something for everyone. From a wide array of musical stylings to holiday seasonal performances, the Lakeville Area Performing Arts Center offers the finest in regional entertainment. Reserve seating for all performances. To find program descriptions and buy tickets online, visit our website at lakevilleareaartscenter.com.